How you doing out there, everybody? Welcome back over here to Peppielaview. I want to say welcome, new viewers, returning viewers, and you subscribers. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your love and your support. And we're talking about Phyllis Hyman, right? My only album that I own by Phyllis Hyman right now, even though it's not my only one I've ever had, but this is the one I have right now. Get in here, Clive Davis. Get in here. You know, y'all already making me tired. When you make me tired over here, you already know where I'm going. I need to find my alleged button. You know, all of this here is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. You know, I don't go around digging in people's trash. I don't do that. All of this is alleged. This is what I have read in album credits, what I'm listening to in music, and what I've read in publications and heard in interviews by the artists. You know, if they ain't said it in public, I don't talk about it. I mean, I'm busy. Got a full-time job and things on the side. I ain't got time to be digging around in people's trash. But Clive Davis, we're going to get you in here because I'm here to tell you, like, sometimes, well, not sometimes, as I've been listening to Phyllis Hyman's music, you know, and I've gotten to 1981's Can't We Fall in Love Again in 1983, Goddess of Love. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't like those albums. I'm not covering them over here, but I am going to talk about the politic involved. The way I see it, in my opinion. But get Clive Davis in here because, see, I have him by the back of the collar. You know what I'm saying? Like, right, this I have him. I'm like, I can't let you off the hook, Clive. Then, you know, you like let him go real quick and then you grab him. Say, no, because you're thinking like, well, and then you grab him back again. Say, come, not so fast. Not so fast. Not so fast, Clive. But before we do that, before we drag him back on up in here and talk to him, look at this picture. If I'm ever intentional, I'll let you know. I was definitely intentional about this picture right here that you see with Clive Davis and Phyllis Hyman. I mean, that's definitely diva in the making. That's definitely diva power. I don't care what anyone says, and I can definitely see and understand what Clive Davis saw in Phyllis Hyman when he saw her. I'm pretty sure he was looking like, wow, we can make this work. Like, she's drop dead gorgeous. She sounds great, like awesome voice. Like, yes, let's do something with her. You know, definitely, even if he heard her music or not, you know, from her first album of Buddha Records, even if he heard the album or not. And we know by now that Buddha was purchased by Arista Records, and Clive Davis founded Arista Records in 1974, and he purchased Buddha Records maybe in 1978, 79, something like that. But anyway, But this picture is also giving me something that I'm going to let you see one more time so you can see what I see. Do you see what I see? If you see what I see, then go ahead on and leave a comment, because I'm definitely getting Whitney Houston vibes. I understand what some of you are going to say. Some of you are going to say, wait a minute, Whitney Houston wasn't out at this time. How is it giving me Whitney Houston vibe? No, that's not what I'm saying. She doesn't look like Whitney Houston or anything. I'm just talking about the image, the way she's styled. All of that is definitely giving me that type of Whitney Houston type feel. And basically what I'm saying is that I definitely think that Clive wanted to make her this diva, right? That I think he missed it, though. Sometimes, I guess, you know, that old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. And I want to think that maybe Clive was so set on putting Phyllis Hyman in this diva box, this pop diva box, to the point where, you know, he didn't recognize what he had in her. because he was dead set on what he was trying to do. You know, look at what Clive Davis has going on at this moment in time in his career, right? He just started a record company, right? He has over there, it's 1974, so who he has over there? He has Meli'sa Manchester. By the time 1980 kicks in, right? By the time 1980 kicks in, he has Meli'sa Manchester, Phyllis Hyman, Dionne Warwick, Patti Smith, Aretha Franklin, Phyllis Hyman, and A'ngela Winbush. This is by 1980. He has 7 divas. Seven divas. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be sexist at all. I promise you I'm not. If I said 7 soul men or men, 7 soul men, I would still look at him like, huh? And you have Aretha Franklin, who's already established, but she's going through that career nosedive, and then it's just what careers do. You have an established Dionne Warwick, and that is going through its changes, right? That in it and of itself definitely have to be an issue, don't you think? I would like to think so. I would like to think that's a lot of diva power. And some people was talking about how maybe Phyllis Hyman and A'ngela Winbush didn't get along, and I don't know if they did or not, or they tried to, make it seem like there was a rift tiff between them or what have you. I don't know if it was or wasn't. Who cares at this moment in time? You got 7 divas over there. Somebody had to have some rift tiffs. Somebody had to be concerned about their career and who was getting what kind of attention. Clive, that's why we need Clive. Clive, we need you on the phone. Like, how did you manage that is the first thing that I want to know. See, I never know where I'm going with this, my commentary. I never just really sit down, and think about it. Like I listen to the music. I kind of have an idea in my mind about the diva, and I look at the stuff that I have before me, and then I just get to talking, and I'm like, what? That's a lot of divas. Don't y'all think it's a lot of divas? And this here's by the 70s. I mean, by 1980. We're not talking about after. So anyway, we're not necessarily going to talk about the 1981 or the 1983 album. It is what it is. I don't like them. So we're not talking about that. But I do want to talk about Clive Davis in this particular relationship with Phyllis Hyman, and what did he actually see in her? Because if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. You guys look this up for yourselves. I could be wrong, but at one point in time in Phyllis's career, wasn't she like a Bond woman, like James Bond theme song? Didn't she have a theme song, or was supposed to have a theme song in one of the James Bond movies? Like during that era? And let's talk about that era. It's the 1970s, 1980s. And as much as we want to, even my mind want to think about how we probably have progressed and advanced when it comes to, discrimination, racism, sexism, all of that stuff, like maybe how we progressed from that. But we're talking about the late 1970s. Listen here, I'm pretty sure there was still some places segregated and they had their, for whites only colored signs up somewhere. Yeah, it doesn't matter. 1965 was just 2 years, 12 years prior. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I would like to think that when we're looking at someone of Phyllis Hyman's caliber right now or potential, you probably are not trying to make her a soul sister to break her career, to give her that big break. You're not trying to make her a soul sister. And yeah, that might work right now for an Aretha Franklin, and I just, now that I think about it, this is no disrespect to Natalie Cole, because I know I brought some, I was like, well, it's 1977. Natalie Cole is already established. Shaka Khan is leaving Rufus to establish a solo career, so on and so forth. So I'm not belittling their career and the things that they've done in their career. I'm not at all. But I'm pretty sure that he was not trying to make Phyllis Hyman, even though she sound well. You remember what I was saying? That first album made me think of Shaka Khan and Natalie Cole, and I'm pretty sure he did not have that in mind. And I'm pretty sure when it comes to an artist like a Natalie Cole or Shaka Khan, as far as sales and things are concerned, like, yeah, these ladies are legendary and iconic, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's what he was trying to get out of Phyllis Hyman, was a Natalie Cole or Shaka Khan career. Look who he signed: Aretha Franklin and Dionne Warwick. Two extremely different divas. You got a soulful diva and you got a pop diva. As pop can get. We're talking about Dionne Warwick, as far as, being of African American, brown and beige skin. Just saying, So what was his intentions then is the question you have to ask yourself. Like, I would like to just sit down and ask him the questions myself, like me personally, Clive. I would just like to ask you, like, let's talk about Phyllis Hyman. And I'm not talking about digging up dirt. No, I just want to know, like, what did you see and why was there such a rift between the two of you? I understand that you had song selections probably for her. However, did you couldn't see the forest for the trees? Now, I know I made that statement, so let's stop right here and talk about the fact that he probably couldn't see the forest for the trees. It's working well for the most part. When I say well, you hear it. We're talking about Phyllis Hyman's first album. Don't know anything about sales. Don't know if it did good as far as sales and everything is concerned. By the time she gets ready to, release her second album, Clive bought the record company, sees Phyllis, signs her. Allegedly, some of the music that had been recorded for the second album for Buddha made the official second album for the 1978 album, Sing a Song. But Sing a Song is actually, what's the name of that song? Somewhere in My Lifetime? Is that it? Is that the name of that album, Somewhere in My Lifetime? Let me know. Somewhere in My Lifetime. And I like the song. I like the album. The album is pretty decent, I must say. The 1979 album, I have to say, is pretty decent. Although I like the song, I like all of the songs on Sing a Song album. But then when you get to Somewhere in My Lifetime, so on and so forth, you can definitely tell that he's trying to make her middle of the road. And for me, it just didn't work. trying to make Phyllis Hyman middle of the road. I'm talking about from an ear standpoint. And I know some of you saying, well, you ain't no music executive. You don't have all those gold and platinum plaques like everybody else doing those #1 hits. But I do have an ear. I got an opinion. I'm just saying. But he missed it. He definitely missed it. Because those songs were not his. Now, we also have to look at the fact of that during this time, 1979, 1980, record companies did not necessarily blame the artist for if a record did not perform well. They didn't. It wasn't like that. So for a Phyllis Hyman, when you look at her and you say, oh, well, we know she got the goods, the voice and all that stuff, it's something just, we're working on it. We're trying to get it right. We know we're going to eventually get that hit out of her, and that eventually all of this is going to pay off. Our investment in this artist is going to pay off. So we're not dropping people from record companies like that and so on and so forth. It was always, let's go back to the drawing board. So I'm pretty sure he had that in mind, like, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's get some more songs together. Let's find something that is going to work for Phyllis, and I'm pretty sure, hopefully, that even Phyllis felt the same way. Let's get back to, what we need to do in order to, make sure that I have a successful career. I'm talking about Phyllis Hyman. I'm pretty sure that she is agreeing with Clive. I would like to think that everybody, is agreeing at this moment in time. And for whatever reason, it does show up in the top 20 on R&B charts. It shows up in, up on the pop charts, the album does. And if it's doing that, we're doing something. We just need to get into the top tier, right? And then something happens. Something happens that same year. And what happens that same year is that she goes back into the studio, and this time she works with M. Tume, right? She works with M. Tume. She works with Reggie Lucas and James M. Tume, and they come up with the hit, You Know How to Love Me. Now, let's talk about that hit song, You Know How to Love Me. What year did I say it was written in? Came out in 1979. There are a lot of artists at this moment in time that are definitely taking advantage of this disco type era of music. And so now that I'm thinking to myself, see, you never know where I'm going, because I never thought I was going to go this route. Maybe people are not taking this seriously. Maybe they're looking at it like, okay, let's do this. This is a thing of the time. Let's kind of see where this is, what we can get out of it. So an artist like Phyllis Hyman probably isn't being catered towards that particular genre of music or that audience or that fan base. They just so happen to stumble across it. Maybe in Clive's mind, this is flavor of the month. Like, okay, this is not really serious music, serious singing, and I don't want to focus on this. But not understanding that you got a hit out of this. Like, people are liking it, they're loving it, they're digging it, and here's what I'm going to say. See, I know. Gosh, I'm gonna have to fill this up. And by the way, just letting y'all know, this Dr. Pepper, there is not anything else in here. You see, that's Dr. Pepper. I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so as I said, this is flavor of the month. We're necessarily not trying to make this thing a career. And also, too, I ain't the one to gossip. But allegedly Whitney Houston, when she came out with You Give Good Love, and I always said this about You Give Good Love, I always wonder why people, the public, the masses, always, especially in entertainment, they always put down You Give Good Love. Like, they never say the song was a hit song, even though it was #1 on R&B charts and maybe #3 on the pop charts. They never say You Give Good Love is a hit. Never. They always talk about how disappointing that song was. Then it hit me. Then I realized it was all marketing. That after Clive Davis, finished the album, he wanted, allegedly, to market Whitney Houston's first song to urban audience, to the Black audience. He marketed that album, that song, because he felt as if, allegedly, that if he can get her in the Black audience category and get her accepted by them, then he already had them, and now he's going to take off into the pop charts, if you will, middle of the road. And that's exactly what happened. So maybe with this You Know How to Love Me song, maybe it did what it was supposed to do. It got her a hit. And for whatever reason, that maybe at this moment in time, he never thought for 1 minute that it could be possible that this might be Phyllis Hyman's lane, so if you will. Like, maybe it's not necessarily pop. I mean, not pop, but disco. But this particular style of music and this up-tempo type of music is definitely where she fits. Clive, was she thinking about that at all? At the time? No, you wasn't. And it's okay if you wasn't. That's what I'm saying. If there was ever a disappointment in his career with a diva, I know some of you probably already going to say, well, Angie Stone, he publicly said, oh, Angie Stone, you didn't get a #1 with me, but you're going to go to Stax and you're going to get a #1 over there and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Yeah, well, you already know what Angie Stone already has said about Clive Davis as it relates to her record, calling it Diary of a Soul Diva and Diary of Alicia Keys or something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. Ooh, child, y'all making me tired. But it is interesting, though. It's interesting. So here we have her with this hit record. And it performs pretty much almost the same as her last record. Right? Pretty much neck and neck. Almost did better than the Somewhere in My Lifetime album. But this looks like where she's about to fit comfortably within Arista Records. It looks like this is it. Like it's not going to get as good as this. Like, this was it for her. So when we have these riff tiffs between them professionally, I can see how disappointing it could be for her and for him, career-wise. You have this stunning, beautiful lady. Voice is just so top-notch that you want to guide her career like maybe he has guided not Alicia Keys, but as he's would eventually guide Whitney Houston's career. He wants to do the same for her. It's not happening. She's telling you, you can jump off a flying rabbit with some of your suggestions that you're talking about with her career. Oh, mercy. It's disappointing. It's so disappointing. So then we get to the album. Ooh, child, do I even want to talk? I told you I wasn't talking about these albums. I don't get the direction of it. So she comes in and she works with Norman Connors. And let me tell you how I feel about Phyllis Hyman with these two albums. I feel the same way I feel about Diana Ross with some of her albums in the 80s. It lacks soul. I'm sorry, Diana. I'm still into your music. I mean, really, you know, I've got several albums now in the 80s that, you know, I like by you. But what I'm saying is it's missing soul. It's missing depth. And it's unfortunate when I hear these two albums from me. These two albums are, like they just sound like a lot of nothing is there. you know, like there's nothing in it. I don't hear anything like so. I just don't hear anything. I'm sorry. You know, I don't. Like, can't we fall in love again? Well, we can't fall in love again if we're going to listen to those songs. Those songs are not, just, can't do it. Like, nothing on that album. I was just like, oh. And maybe this is the attempt to make her middle of the road diva. And you know what I mean when I say middle of the road. What I'm talking about is you want to expand her audience. You know, you Bette Midler, you know, type of Bette Midler, you know, what's the other lady name? Barbara Streisand, you know. And nothing wrong with those divas. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's just, you know, I'm just thinking, okay, can I say what people probably are thinking? Well, she sounds beautiful, but she's a sister. The same thing that happened to Whitney Houston now that I think about it. Everybody was like, she's a sister. She's a sister. And she sound like this. Her music sound like, no, she's a sister. So sometimes it's hard for both audiences on both sides to, you know, grasp that visual, to match the visual up with what you're hearing. You know, it is what it is. It's what it is. We're not, you know, it's just what it is. I don't know what to say. It is what it is. And so then, as I'm about to wrap this up, I say I'm about to hit the 30-minute mark. And so what we get here is we get another album. And the album we get here in 1983 with the Goddess of Love album is that 1983, some things are about to happen in 1983. In 1983, Phyllis Hyman is working with Narada Michael Walden, Shannon Rubicam, oh gosh, George Merrill, I can't pronounce the name. And these are people who will make Whitney Houston famous for songs like I Want to Dance with Somebody and How Will I Know? That's what's about to happen. But for whatever reason falls flat in 1983 working with Phyllis Hyman. I don't know what that. I don't know what. Maybe Narada Michael Walden is just now starting out, and he has yet to find, the guy, the musician, the producer that he will be for an Aretha Franklin and for a Whitney Houston and for who else? Lisa Fisher. How can I use the pain? Now he has yet to find that within himself, even in 1983, working with Phyllis Hyman. So by the time this album does not work out, 1983 is what it is. The album has not worked out. Guess what's happening at Arista Records? Whitney Houston is emerging somewhere around this time, 1983. And I'm just throwing it out, speculating. That's all I'm doing. So if he signed Whitney Houston by this time, it doesn't matter if she's out or not. It's what it is. He sees he sees what he could do for Whitney Houston, for a young Whitney Houston who is able to be molded and shaped into that diva that we already got with Phyllis. It's like, oh, okay, well, if this is where we end, this is the end of the road for the two of us. Okay, it's what it is. I got this young lady who I'm going to make a star. Do you understand? Interesting. Very interesting. Interesting. Don't you think it's interesting? I think it's interesting. Interesting story. Maybe one day I get to talk to you about it, Clive. Like, Clive. Well, I guess that's the end of the story for this one, because we're not done. We're not done with Phyllis Hyman, not by a long shot, God. We're not done with her at all. We got some more videos coming up of Phyllis Hyman. Oh gosh, I'm so digging this. But anyway, don't forget over here at Peppielaview. I believe, we should put our behinds where our hearts desires to be. I hope you're doing that. And also remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. I love you out there. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And don't forget to love yourself. Because as I've heard it said before, if you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? I know that's the truth. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing your next video. And until then, you know what to do out there. You guys, take care of yourselves. See you next time.